So last night, around a Halloween fire, politics were brought up. I was trying to be attentive and to listen to those around me. And in the midst of the conversation, the issue of abortion arose. After some discussion, a neighbor said, "I have to think about my wife and my daughter." I was then challenged. "Hey, Jeremy, you have a daughter. What do you want her to know? What choices do you want her to be able to make?" I have since had this thought on my mind, and I felt that, hey, maybe now is a good time for me to share. Friday morning, I woke early and began reading through the statistics and issues, and I've formulated this reply. I want my daughter to know that this life, it's not about her. She is part of a family and a community and a world. It's not just about her. I want her to know that her decisions will have an impact on the world in which we live. My body, my choice. I believe that idea, that concept, it breeds individualism. And our culture is plagued with individualism. Our culture has become all about me first. And I want my daughter to know that her choices matter. My daughter, I want her to know to honor her body because it is a gift from God. I want her to know that she has been wonderfully and beautifully made and that she needs to be wise with how she uses her body. She needs to be wise with where she goes and the people she hangs out with and the situations that she puts herself into. I want my daughter to know that she should fight to find someone who will honor her and her body. I want my daughter to know that choices have consequences. Many of her friends, the reality is, will end up sleeping with multiple people before they find that one, if they ever do. I want my daughter to know that with those decisions come many risks. With those behaviors come many risks, and there's emotional and spiritual trauma that occurs with the more people that you get involved in sexually. I want my daughter to know that there is a risk of pregnancy. That's just a reality of what the act brings about. And I want her to know that there's a reality that disease is part of the consequences that can come with this behavior. See, the CDC statistics from 2021 show that 57% of abortions were had by women in their 20s. A more recent study shows that these numbers have not really changed. 57% are women in their 20s who I believe are still just trying to figure out, who am I? Who is my body? What is my body? And what do I do with it? Man, I want my daughter to know that 1 in 3 women who have an abortion say that the choice was because of complicated relationships. They chose to abort their baby because I'm just not sure that this other relationship that I have is going to be what's best to bring a baby into the world. Well, what that tells me is, daughter, I think these women probably shouldn't have been having sex with these people. I also want my daughter to know that God can redeem our choices. I want my daughter to know that there are about 6.1 million women in the U.S. who struggle to get pregnant, and that one woman's regret could become another woman's blessing. I want my daughter to know that if she would get pregnant, and if there were doubts for some reason that I don't know if I want to keep this baby, I'd want her to know that it would be worth sacrificing her freedoms, her choices for the sake of another. Yes, for the life of the baby, but also for another couple who longs to have a little baby and claim them as their own. What if she could view this potential mistake? What if she could view it as an opportunity to be a blessing to another family that is in desperate need? Yeah, there are complications around this abortion issue, and I'd want her to know that. I'd want to know about the health risk and that people's lives might be at stake, both the baby and the mom, if some of these pregnancies continue. I want her to know that babies don't always properly form in the womb. And that might mean that you have a child that is born with special needs, but I know from personal experience, from my family who has had this dear sister-in-law born with disabilities, and she has been such a blessing to our community, to our family, and to the world. I want my daughter to recognize that. I want my daughter to recognize that, you know what? These are important issues. I want to be able to talk to her about God's design for her body, for relationships, and what it means to value the life of others. Lastly, I want my daughter to know that babies begin to have a heartbeat at 6 weeks of age. I want her to know that you can start to see the features, and that a mom's inside a mom's womb, there are deep and meaningful connections that are occurring. I want my daughter to know that she is loved, and that no matter what, me and her mother will love her, and we will support her, and we will continue to make sure that we point her in a direction of hope, of love, and care, not just for herself, but the world in which we live. Thank you for thinking with me through this deep subject. And I didn't cover everything, and there will be negative and positive reviews of this. But dive into the issue. Think about it. Think about what you want your daughter to really know about life and choices and consequences, and what other people face in the world in which we live.